I'm going to invite my colleagues Amy and Catherine to start us off on the session and also introduce our partners from EMEA EFAD who have kindly joined us today.
Thank you, Heather. I will be talking about, as Heather said, ALP partners collaboration with us. And specifically, we'll be looking at our partnership with the International Fund for Agricultural Development, EFAD, and also EMEA, the Agribusiness Market Ecosystem Alliance. So that's the focus of today's session. It's my colleague, Catherine Ford. We'll be talking about EFAD along with Frank Rubio from EFAD. And then I'll speak about EMEA along with Guillermo Gonzalez, who is their Senior Learning Manager. But first, I want to turn it over to Alan Johnson, who is going to set the stage by talking a little bit about our partnership goals. Alan?
No, great. Thanks, Amy. I think for those who've been attending yesterday and today, it's pretty clear that this issue of scaling is really front and center. So what we've thought about is if we really need to achieve scale, you heard earlier we've made these great inroads with the World Bank. We definitely need to continue with that, and the whole opportunity of AgriConnect has presented itself. But even before that happened, we had identified two main channels for scaling. One was obviously we can't just do stuff on our own. We have to work with partners, and we have to really, to some extent, empower them to really achieve the impact that we want to do, because we just have limited staff and resources. So partnerships is one, and then the use of technology is another. But this session is going to focus on partnerships. The two partners we've identified have already been introduced, but let me just add an extra little gloss. I mean, EMEA, we were actually a founding member of EMEA. That's an incredible partnership which has been going on for many years. And I think given all of the changes that can happen, I can only foresee we will have to really work more intensely with EMEA, just because the mission, the alignment of the objectives is so strong in terms of building local capacity to deliver these crucial business development services. So I think that's a given. So I think the issue, sorry to preempt EMEA, but we're going to be really looking at how can we achieve scale. And then equally EFAD, which is a newer partnership, but again, that the alignment of what we want to do has been so great, and the receptivity from the EFAD side for some of the tools and approaches that we've been proposing and experimenting with has been tremendous. So, thanks again, Frank. We'll be hearing a bit more about that, and maybe the same plea. With EFAD, we're just looking at one or two projects, but the question that's going to be there is, can this go further? Can we do more? But anyway, I don't want to preempt the discussion, but very much welcome to two of our key partners. And just to say, we are scaling is the key word. So we're going to be looking at this in a very kind of positive and optimistic way. So back to you, Amy.
Okay, well, I'll be throwing it back to Catherine and Frank to walk us through the IFC EFAD partnership.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Alan, and thank you everyone who's joined us here today. We're delighted to have you with us. Happy Wednesday. My name is Catherine Ford, and I am the ALP Metrics product owner / SME, working here with a great team of colleagues. For those of you who I have not yet had the privilege to work with, I joined the team this year, shepherded in by Rosemary Mahoney. I've spent my career working with cooperatives of all types and sectors around the world. I am joined here by our colleague Frank Rubio, Senior Investment Officer, Private Sector at EFAD, the International Fund for Ag Development. And he's here to talk about the partnership that's been born that's been in motion for the last 18 months between ALP and EFAD. And Frank and a team of colleagues at EFAD share our ALP vision to support smallholder farmers so that they have greater capacity to enter markets, access. Please help me welcome Frank, who will share insights on the EFAD IFC ALP partnership efforts in two pilot countries, Rwanda and Tanzania. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you so much to the IFC ALP team for this invite. Really excited about this partnership that we've been developing over the past year and a half, actually. There is a slide here that really what it does is it summarizes the main components of this project that we're developing jointly. The first one, which was in Rwanda, which is a program that's designed around increasing access to finance for farm organization, cooperatives, and value chain players that are linked to these organizations. And what you see there in terms of component are the three key strategies components that we're proposing to move this forward and to incentivize a local commercial bank in Rwanda to hopefully target this sector in a much more extensive and sustainable manner. I won't go into real super details on the different components, just say that there's a key funding component, which is a line of credit that we are offering to the bank that's matched 1-to-1. That's basically fairly concessional, with the idea being that that concession would be passed on to the ultimate beneficiaries as a result of improved operational expenses, as a result of strong digitalization being done, as well as lower costs because of the lower risk premiums that would be implemented in the pricing of loans as a result of more information that's going to be collected, partially using the ALP tools. We also have a capacity building, and I mentioned digitalization component to access finance. So a strong TA component that's going on the supply side in terms of building the bank's capacities to better target this sector, and on the demand side to further professionalize farm organizations, make them more bankable. And there's also a risk management solution in place, which is really a fairly small amount, but linking up to other portfolio guarantee schemes that already exist. And this initially, we're in very good discussions and strong discussions with ASELI in helping us and partnering with us in this particular component. Very, very briefly, the three components broken down, and what you see here are basically the proportions in terms of the contributions made by IFAD and the partner bank. And I think the most important thing to highlight in this is that one of the key successes, as far as we're concerned, is for the banks to have a strong skin in the game. So we have 1-to-1 match minimally on the part of the bank in terms of financing. We have the bank providing key staff, full-time staff, to ensure that the project is implementing in the correct fashion. And we have the bank also sharing in some of the other portfolio schemes available to be able to ensure sufficient risk management and loan loss provisions are in place. But also the bank will flexibilize a bit some of their collateral requirements in order to make sure that the target audience, which of course is mainly farm organizations or smallholder members, as well as value chain players, are able to provide the kinds of collateral that they work with on a daily basis. So that gives an overview of what the project looks like. Just a little bit of a summary from my end in terms of a little bit of the background and also where we're at now and why we think the ALP tool is critical for the success of this project. So the project that I mentioned in Rwanda, and there's another one that's being designed in Tanzania with another bank, is based on an extensive research that IFAD conducted over the past 2 years related to access to finance for farm organizations. On the demand side, we conducted a survey of 200 plus farm organizations globally to better understand what their access to finance concerns were, why they struggle to access finance, what some of the key issues have been in terms of accessing formal bank lending, and what type of credit products are most needed. And on the supply side, we analyzed financial institutions as well as impact investors to better understand what they perceive to be the key risks in lending to these kinds of organizations. And all of this research was also aligned with similar research around what kind of existing credit scoring models exist currently that are tailored to cooperatives, farm organizations to better identify viable approaches for adaptation of credit scoring models of banks, impact investors, et cetera, for this target audience. At the same time that all of this research was taking place, we were in parallel discussions with IFC on a general level, quarterly calls, et cetera, to see how we might be able to potentially collaborate. And ALP just happened to emerge at the time as a real natural complement to the work and the research that we were already conducting around farm organizations. So it was really quite hand in glove. Then through a series of joint meetings, EFAT and IFC jointly reviewed the financial potential assessment tool and agreed that it would really add value in a few key areas. First of all, as far as the program is concerned in pipeline screening, being able to assess farm organizations entering the potential partner bank lending pipeline. So this is a clear, important add-on that the banks currently don't have and what the ALP tool can offer. The targeted technical assistance identifying capacity gaps within these farm organizations to be able to better tailor some of the TA that will be offered in the program. Credit scoring alignment. Now, again, I want to reiterate, this is not to say that the tool is a credit scoring tool. We understand that it's not, but at the very least, we see it as helping potential partner banks to refine its own internal risk assessments because there's many aspects of the tool, of the financial potential tool that are very useful and helpful in terms of better addressing what the real risks are of financing these organizations. And finally, the tool is excellent for us to help progress in our monitoring of the program over time, because as we track FOs in different points of time during implementation, we can also gauge how their levels of professionalism are moving in what direction, whether it's better or worse, and also whether they are becoming more bankable. So all of these different sort of areas that we've identified also align with a little bit sort of some key kind of fundamental assumptions that EFAT has as we move forward in this project. So first of all, EFAT and IFC conducted a joint due diligence. Obviously, the ALP team was present. We had meetings with potential partner banks to review the agribusiness lending experience and with selected farm organizations who participate in the program. We thought it was really, really important that the ALP team join us directly in the official due diligence mission that EFAT conducted back in May and June of last year. That also gave the opportunity for the ALP team to really dig deeper with the bank staff in terms of presenting the tool, the benefits of the tool, and how the tool might be able to have an important impact on program delivery. EFAT all along the way has also emphasized the importance of the institutional ownership by the partner bank. And that would really help to ensure effective and sustained use of the tool. So only if the bank agreed that this is something that they're interested and willing to take on and possibly adapt to their own needs, would we move forward in this partnership. And luckily enough, I think, thanks to the successful dialogue that took place during the mission, the bank did buy into it. So we're moving forward on this. So what we hope in terms of expected outcomes of this whole partnership is, these may be obvious, but just to sort of reiterate, we expect a more systematic and evidence-based assessment of farm organization credit readiness. We expect the technical assistance will directly align with the real financial and managerial gaps that are found during the assessments. And we also expect stronger coordination between EFAT and IFC and the partner banks around risk assessments and capacity buildings. One of the key lessons learned so far is, and I mentioned this already, but I want to reiterate, is that early collaboration and joint diagnostics between EFAT and IFC and the financial institution are creating stronger ownership and will likely increase the results of technical assistance translating into actual lending and bankability of the farm organizations. And finally, and here I will stop. I just want to mention that Rwanda is the one that's most advanced, but we've already started also a potentially similar project in similar design with a bank in Tanzania, obviously applying the lessons learned from the Rwanda experience to strengthen credit readiness and deepen our collaboration with IFC. So those are just my general comments. I hope those are clear, and I'm open to any questions that others may have. Over.
Thank you, Catherine and Frank. So from a relatively new partnership with IFAD to a partnership that we've had for almost a decade now, IFC and AMEA. We've been working together since we were both launched the same year, 2016. I'm going to say just a little bit about AMEA for those who may not be familiar before turning it over to Guillermo. And I'd like to say that I joined the board of AMEA just within the last 6 months. Alan Johnson was on the board since it was founded. He recently stepped off. He was the board chair. I've joined the board, and yeah, I'm looking forward to, through that as well, furthering our partnership. AMEA is a global network that focuses on accelerating the development, the professionalization of pharma organizations. It has more than 30 global and local members at this point. And a lot of the work of AMEA is done at the local level through what's called local networks. So they're supporting AMEA initiatives and supporting the development of an enabling environment. This picture here is from their most recent global convening, which was just a few weeks ago in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And a big achievement for AMEA over the last year has been the publishing of ISO 18716, the international standard for professional pharma organizations. And I'll just say, even though when I talk about the highlights of our collaboration, I don't have a slide on ISO, but as Mark Blackett, the AMEA director, rightly pointed out in the comments, a lot of the work that they are doing to promote the adoption of ISO and BDS standards with the national governments, right, through the local networks. A lot of that work, the policy work, will enable the scaling that ALP and IFC wants to achieve. And we're going to focus on the AMEA members' use of ALP. We see here the number of pharma organizations reached, right, and over 25,000, and of that ALP had more than 2,000. Okay, and this shows the 2.3 million farmers reached in 2024, and 40% of that is through the use of AMEA tools. And then, the other 60% would be the tools outside of AMEA, and of that, yeah, we see there the ALP portion. All right, and the comparison to the previous reporting periods, yeah, the number of farmers reached has gone up from 1 million, just over 1 million farmers, to 2.3 million farmers. Okay, this table I want to focus on because it is showing the AMEA members who use ALP. So we see here, and this includes IFC. So, 4 AMEA members use ALP in 2024. That was 2 less than in 2023. But nonetheless, the actual farmers reached was greater. We had numbers, well, our own numbers there, farmers reached in the proportion. You see, Africa Turnaround, who I'll talk to a little bit later. They are doing a lot with ALP, so they account for 100,000 there. Nuru is another one of our strategic partners that's done a lot with ALP and incorporating it into their programs. And some of this has fallen off, I think, due to the changing landscape of development, especially in the US. So you see some of those numbers going down for some members. But then Aggregate as well has used ALP. So, reaching 650,000 farmers with ALP tools. So through the AMEA network. Okay, so these are a few highlights of how we collaborated this year. And next slide. I'm going to focus, as I said, on some of the learning products, not so much the ISO adoption, but a few of the learning products that we developed. So we co-developed a case study on souffle, so the Ethiopian barley value chain. This is a link. I don't know if the link may be available once this is shared as slides afterwards. But if it's not, you can go to the AMEA website and find all their learning products there. So you can find webinars and case studies. So certainly encourage you to check out this case study that came from IFC and AMEA. And Salam, we just heard a little while ago from Salam talking about World Bank projects. She also presented at their annual learning event in June talking about this case study. We contributed to a paper, a position paper on youth in agribusiness and how we can get youth more involved in farmer organizations and other agribusinesses. And this paper was launched at the Global Convening just a few weeks ago. It was enthusiastically received, and the local networks are keen to take up some of the recommendations. I think one of the innovations in this paper was the stratification of youth into 3 different groups, instead of just lumping all youth together, kind of thinking specifically about early youth, transitional youth, established youth, and how the best practices can vary. And this is, I should say, this is also available on their website if you're interested. And finally, on the highlights, I'm part of the Toolbox team. I should give a shout out to some of my colleagues who are involved in some of the other working groups, because IFC did engage more this year with the working groups. Heather is part of the environmental working group. Brian is part of the youth working group and was instrumental to that youth paper. Brian's also involved in the ISO 18716 guidance working group. Returning to the Toolbox working group, we revised the Toolbox guide this year. It was in need of a revision. We made it more concise, more practical. It covers these tools you see listed, and it also shows now, importantly, how are these tools, and whether it's curriculum or assessments, how they align with the ISO standard. Okay, very briefly, because I know we are over time. Our project with Africa Turnaround. Next slide. They have been a member of AMEA, I believe, from the start. And they have, in some ways, like they took our material from and digitized it even before we did. And they have been an early adopter of digital learning. And now that we are doing our own digitization of our material and creating digital learning products, they're taking that and they're making it available and on their own learning platform, and they're using it in their projects. So I would say ATL, Africa Turnaround, has been absolutely instrumental and a strategic partner of ours from the beginning. And most recently, we've been working with them on a blended BDS coach certification program. So BDS, Business Development Services. We started working on this maybe about a year ago, and yeah, they enrolled over 104 trainers and coaches from 18 firms. And they designed a program that includes online learning, feedback webinars, coaching assignments, and peer learning. Yeah, so they create this program, and really this is about, one of the goals for us is to create this roster of trained coaches, right, that are in a country and available to work on projects, whether it's ALP projects or other projects. You know, we're talking a lot about our partnerships with the World Bank being scaled. So we will have this group of trained coaches who are available for those projects. So that's one of the goals for us. And ALP took we talked about this yesterday, our new content on learning path on the fundamentals of ALP coaching. And they've incorporated that into their program. And we see here a master coach facilitating an onboarding webinar. Okay, next slide. Okay, this shows the components, the modules of the certification program. I should say, like, it's online, right? So their ATL is all about the training coaches to deliver BDS online. And also, you know, there are some in-person methods, but it's mostly online. And so we have a coachee here participating in a webinar. So Quinton, are you able to answer a question we have here about speaking a little bit about how the local networks, the 8 local networks, and how they operate in Africa. And I should say Quinton is a fellow board member.
Hi, Amy. Okay, fantastic. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah. Okay, very quickly. Yeah, I mean, we set up local networks based on member and partner demand. They're a combination of the mayor members who pay fees, but also partners like government actors. So as Amy saw, as Quinton saw in Tanzania, when we had the convening, we had a real mixture of stakeholders there. They're working on things such as BDS standards and codes of conduct for BDS associations, as well as promoting the best approaches like ALP in countries like Tanzania. So I think the mayor networks will continue to be a good partner for IFC and ALP, and the desire to work on more ambitious scaling strategies is exactly what we're doing. So, and I believe with World Bank, with IFAD, we can make a lot of progress, with that type of collaboration.
Thank you, Mark. Send it back to Heather.
Thank you, Amy,
Sure,
and
yeah.
thank you to Catherine and our colleagues who have talked about these innovative uses of ALP.